Chapter 5: The Escape. Russell vomited onto the floor and wiped his mouth on his sleeve. Almost out! Agatha screamed over the roar of the time machine and the incessant rattling as the vehicle jumped through the void of time and space. And then they were out. When Russell had the courage to open his eyes once again, he beheld a new world. It was as if London had never existed. The earth was barren and horrid. The air was thick with dust and debris that left Russell coughing and sputtering as he tried to breathe again. He stuck his head out of the window, clawing at his eyes so that he could get another glimpse of the new world. "Damn," Agatha muttered. Russell was too preoccupied to reprimand his cousin for using poor language. The sight before them was worthy of a ghost story. It was as if the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse had pulled their chariot, their time machine, as Agatha had called it, straight through the gates of hell. "My bad," was all the girl had to say in response. "You're bad?" Russell cried, pulling his head back inside and coughing before regarding Agatha with malice. "Where are we? The Devil's Door?" "I saved us," she muttered. Russell shook his head. I know, but we could have run for it." "Rusty, I've gone back in time before." "No kidding. And I think I know where we are." "You mean when we are?" She nodded, smoothing her wild, dirty blonde locks. Her blue eyes grew wide as she broke into a nervous smile. "Rusty, I haven't been here before." "And where, pray tell, is here?" Russell inquired, narrowing his eyes and finally easing his heart into a steady beat again. A terrible moan ensued, and the cousins whipped around to locate its source. Russell's breath caught as he glimpsed a gigantic beast. Its neck alone reached heights that rivaled that of the clock tower. "Take us back, Egg! Take us back now!" Russell screamed, remembering his schooling. Dinosaurs!" Agatha finished for him. "Whoa, aren't they beautiful?" "No!" "That one is," the girl said indignantly. "And if I bring us back now, Berkeley's gonna kill you." "You too," Russell assured her, "because look what you just did." She laughed. "If I bring us back to the time before this happened, you'll still have to work as that horrid man's apprentice. That's preferable to dying in a dino's belly. And if I bring us to a time after this happened, you won't have a job and we'll all starve." "Duly noted. So what we need to do," Agatha said slowly, adjusting her goggles, "is to skip this generation entirely." "What? Then how will I ever make a living? What if there are no tinkers in?" Russell gulped and took a deep breath for emphasis. "In the future." "No tinkers?" Agatha frowned, seemingly amused. "Then how will people fix their broken forks?" Russell couldn't tell if she was making fun of him or not. He decided she was and glared at her. "This isn't funny. We can't survive alone." But Russell had to admit the thought was tempting. Clem had beaten Russell for most of his life, and she hadn't been kind to her own daughter either. Agatha was forced into dresses and pushed to sew for her aunt, who took all the credit when she sold the wares, not leaving any salary for Agatha. "Egg," Russell gulped. "Take us back." The thought of time travel was making the boy sick to his stomach again. "We can figure this out in a safer place." "You're just saying that 'cause you'll miss Henrietta." "I will not," Russell said indignantly. He felt his face growing beet red. "She doesn't mean a thing to me." "She did until she broke the courtship," Agatha giggled. "You know nothing of courtships," Russell muttered. Agatha adjusted her goggles and began turning the dials on the dashboard. Russell watched her with interest, wrinkling his nose at the stench of bile rising from the floor of the machine. He struggled to push the thought out of his mind. If they were to live a life of starvation, the least he could do was to keep the rest of his last meal down. Cornbread and potatoes. It was a decent last meal, Russell thought to himself. "How do you know how to use this piece of junk?" he inquired. "Excuse me?" She turned toward Russell with distaste. "Piece of junk?" "Well, yes. I mean, it's been sitting in Barclay's back room for as long as I've been there. The only reason I gave it the time of day was because you flippin' broke it in the first place." "Broke it? Ha!" she sputtered, throwing up her hands in a typical 10-year-old girl fashion. Russell stared at her for a few moments. "Yes, it looks pretty broke to me." "But it works," she said indignantly. "Rusty, I fixed it. It wasn't a time machine until I got hold of it." Now it was Russell's turn to laugh. He chuckled until tears trickled down his cheeks. Then he clasped his hands together and turned back to his cousin. "You're not serious, are you?" the boy asked when Agatha made it clear that she wasn't sharing in his amusement. Damn well am. Language? No, your language was far worse. Piece of junk, she moaned, mimicking Russell's voice. You don't think I'm capable. Agatha, we're in prehistoric times, surrounded by dinosaurs. If I'm not dreaming, please, for Christ's sake, drop me off at the loony bin on our way home. We're not going home. What? She giggled. I knew you'd understand. Switching gears. What? Russell repeated. Switching? Where do you want to go? She asked, smiling. Actually, there is one reason to go back. Russell secured his helmet atop his sweaty head and automatically gripped the edge of his seat again. He bit his tongue, shutting his eyes tight to keep the nausea at bay. We have to go back for my arm. The girl let out a maniacal laugh as she twisted the dials and flipped the toggles. All Russell had time to think about before the contraption was yanked back into the twisting nether was that if anybody belonged with the loonies, it had to be Agatha. The end. At least, for now. So what we need to do, Agatha said So what we need to do, Agatha, So what we need to do, Agatha said, So what we need to do, Agatha said, So what we need to do, Agatha said slow. Why is this so hard? So what we need to do, Agatha